Sorry. Okay. We'd like to call the
He outranks me.
it's Jim. We'd like to call to order the Wednesday, February 15th, 2012 Board of Ed meeting. We'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good. Roll call, please.
Capabianca. Here. Mr. Cavanero.
Here.
Mrs. Hunter here. Mr. Kisco.
Here.
Mr. Barola. Mr. Nargi.
Present.
Mr. Oliver.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Mr. Rivero.
Here.
Mr. Tebow.
Here.
Mr. Traub.
Here.
Mrs. Batchelder. Here. Mrs. DeMonico. Here. Mr. Jocelyn.
Here.
Mrs. Flacco. Here. Mayor Bingham. Matt Cavanero.
Here.
Maggie Finn. Here. Christine Kiwan. Here.
Thank you. Excellent.
Do you want mine?
Okay. The school and community session, do we have anyone on our sheet there? The board invites members of the community to speak on topics to be addressed in the agenda or on other topics of interest. Individuals wishing to make comments are requested to fill out the speaker sign-up sheet, including name and address, which must be stated at the beginning of your comment. The board will not allow comments regarding specific staff members or personal grievances. Courtesy is expected in this limited public forum. The participating time will be limited to 3 minutes per person, 10 minutes overall to guarantee an efficient operation of the entire meeting.
Okay, no one signed up at the moment?
No one signed up. Okay. We need to get on number 3. We need to get a motion to amend the agenda. We need to add a discussion item 6.5, the January financials. We also need 6.6, the early retirement situation. 7.3, January financials. 6 is early retirement discussion. Yep. 7.3 is in the executive session, update on superintendent search. And then under number 8, we are adding a retirement. Paul Hetty, head custodian, Torrington High School, effective 3/5/2012. Correct. 7.
I'll make that motion.
Can we have a second? Second by Ellen. Any discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous? Okay, then on to number 3, approval of the agenda as amended. Same by David, by Ellen. All those in favor? Okay. Unanimous again. Approval of the meeting minutes from the Board of Ed meeting January 18th, 2012. A move by Paul, second by Fiona. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous? Okay, number 5, information sharing session. Student representatives, we have them all. We should let Ms. Kiwan start.
Sorry, I haven't been here. Usually
That's okay.
Okay,
Just
so.
good to have you back.
Oh, well. I'll start with Forbes' report. They said that there was a district-wide read aloud on February 8th, and they just wanted to thank everyone who participated and displayed their love for reading. And then they said that there's a presentation tomorrow in their library, February 16th, from 5:30 to 6:30. And it's called Working Together, How to Open Communication and Enhance Student Achievement and School Improvement. And pretty much everyone is invited if you want to learn how to work together and improve your school. And then the last thing they reported was Jump Rope for Heart program last week, which I actually participated in when I was younger. It's a lot of fun. And they said it went very well. The proceeds go to the American Heart Association. And they want to thank all the parent volunteers and kids who participated. From Southwest School, in late January, 5th grade students enjoyed meeting their peers from Vogel Wetmore at the Warner Theater for a series of activities designed to increase awareness of cultural diversity, and it was presented by the Discovery Center. And CLMP visited and talked to their science classes, which I thought was very interesting. And a special shout out goes to Lauren Roy and Jason Lee. They were recognized for their talents at the CAS Celebration of the Arts, and they just want to thank the Board of Education for the opportunity for these two students and their parents who truly enjoyed their dinner at the AquaTurf.
From the TMS school, the Susan B. Anthony Project educators visited TMS for a third round of mini courses to support safe school climate covering conflict resolution. McTeacher Night will be held on March 12th at the East Main Street McDonald's to help raise funds for the Washington, D.C. trip. From East School, first of all, thank you to Dr. Stephanie Fuller for taking time this month to present Tar Wars to our 5th graders. This program is a wonderful complement to the DARE program, which our students are currently participating in. Family Math Night is tomorrow, February 16th, from 6 to 7:30 in the gymnasium. Next Wednesday, February 22nd, Detective Rich Dowd of the Torrington Police Department will be presenting a workshop for parents district-wide on internet safety. All parents and community members are invited to attend. The event will take place in the East School cafeteria. And from Vogel Wetmore, 2nd grade teachers have planned a field trip to our local Stop and Shop. Students will be learning about getting the best buys to support healthy meals on February 22nd and 29th. Parents and students enjoy PTO's free family fun night titled Sweetheart Bingo on Friday, February 10th. 5th graders and their families are invited to the Discovery Center's Diversity Celebration at the Warner Theater Wednesday, February 15th at 5:30. The 3rd grade is in the process of organizing another community project to support hot water dog rescue out of Collinsville. This will be their 2nd year in a row supporting this facility. 2nd grade students are collecting food for our school community for the United Way's Food for Your Neighbors campaign, which continues now through March 14th. The 4th grade class of Mary's Betts Giuliano collected over 100 pounds of goods for the Vogel Wetmore School community for servicemen in Afghanistan. The students also wrote and sent letters of appreciation to the servicemen, thanking them for their service in our armed forces. Finally, collections from our Dress Down Days this month will go to support the United Way and Project Graduation.
I have the THS news. During THS period tomorrow, Kevin Purcell, who's the Executive Director of FISH, is coming in to talk about the food drive that we did in December, and he's going to talk about where the food is going and how it's helping people in Torrington. We also have a blood drive tomorrow in the gym all day. Last week, Mayor's Committee did a great job raising student awareness on the issues of underage drinking, and they sponsored a school-wide presentation by Kevin Pettit and Maria Skinner from the McCall Foundation. There's also a panel discussion, Careers for Torrington's Future, tomorrow at 1 p.m. With Mayor Bingham and the Director of Economic Development, Rose Ponte, Torrington Downtown Partners, the representative is Stephen Roth, and Mark McAhern, the Executive Director of the Historical Society, are going to be there. This upcoming weekend after the holiday, the THS Student Theater presents Eat, It's Not About Food, on Thursday, February 23rd through Saturday, February 25th. And Thursday's performance is at 7, and Fridays and Saturdays start at 7:30. And I've heard it's going to be really good, so if you'd like to go. Tickets can be bought at the door. On February 21st, the THS PTO fundraiser is at Wendy's Restaurant, and if you mention Torrington High School, part of the proceeds from your meal will go to help the school raise money. Report cards are being mailed out this week. CAPT exams are March 5th through the 20th, and there's full days every day, and there's instruction going on for all with a rotating schedule. Pink Out, which is the basketball game that goes to raise funds for breast cancer, is Tuesday the 21st. It starts at 7 p.m., and you can wear pink if you want to come. And NHS is in charge of running that. And winter sports are starting to wrap up. Boys basketball had their senior night last night. The girls basketball had their senior night, and we're actually hoping to catch the boys' senior night for the swim meet tonight. So that's it.
Thank you. Moving on to 5.2, recognition.
Tonight, we're recognizing Connecticut Scholastic Art Awards. And these are students from Torrington High School. And as you can see in the table up here, some of the beautiful artwork that they submitted and will be recognized for. And I'd also like to recognize Cynthia Jerem, who is teacher for these students. And this is quite a prestigious award because this is the 23rd Annual Connecticut Regional Scholastic Art Award. And it's the largest juried student art exhibit in the state. And the purpose of this was celebrating the creative spirit of Connecticut youth was the theme for the exhibit. And sponsors emphasize that the purpose of this program is not merely a competition of sorts, but a recognition and encouragement of talented students from across the state. Artists, university faculty, and professionals in the field have joined to review and select the finest student artwork. And there were over 1,500 Connecticut student entries. So let's see. There's work from over 130 participating schools, and 655 works will be on exhibit at the University of Hartford. And of that, there are 229 top Gold Key Awards, including 98 gold portfolios, 157 silver keys, and 267 honorable mentions. The exhibit dates will be from January 15th to February 3rd, and the gallery hours were from 9 to 4. And the presentation to the students was January 29th at Lincoln Theater at the university. So without further ado, I would like to recognize our students in drawing for Silver Key, presented to Jonathan Soteros. Ceramics and Glass, Honorable Alexis Wasakowski. For Ceramics and Glass, Honorable Salma Malik.
I wish that was secret.
The award. And for Ceramics and Glass, Honorable Kendall Snyder. I'd like to thank the students very much for their excellent work and for bringing honor upon Torrington High School for their creativity and their commitment to expressing themselves in a totally different medium, and just absolutely beautiful work. Thank you very, very much. Next on the agenda, as requested last week, the enrollment and discipline is on the TPS website. It's on our dashboard space. So it will be there, and we'll be presenting the report quarterly instead. Now I would like to introduce an extraordinary young man, Mr. Timothy Bleacher from Torrington Middle School, an 8th grader. And Timothy, through his own life experiences, has taken this experience and is turning it around to an extremely positive endeavor for all other students. And so, without further ado, Timothy.
Good evening, Superintendent Blacko.
Good enough.
Board members and ladies and gentlemen. Government and community efforts to keep kids from going hungry have clearly failed. 18.8 million children go to bed hungry every night. Government and adults have had generations to stamp out childhood hunger and are obviously failing as hunger increases among American kids. It's time for us, kids, to help each other. 1 in 4 kids go to bed hungry in this country. That is unacceptable to me. If you could do something to keep other kids from going hungry for free, would you do it? Here's how we kids are going to make a dent in the number of kids going to bed hungry in our community. Do you have a window that gets at least 4 hours of sun a day or 8 hours of bright light? If you put 1 or 2 vegetable plants in that window, you can raise food for hungry kids. You might think, big deal, that's enough vegetables for only a meal or two. But multiply that by the number of kids with windows, and suddenly you can see how much we will grow in just our spare window space. We are kids, and we have power in numbers. We can do it. It will cost you nothing. 1 kid out of every 4 kids you meet go to bed hungry nightly. You can help stop this with your window in just a few minutes a week. Please help. How can you not? No kid should go to bed hungry. Hunger hurts. This is one of the planting kits that we will be distributing to the students who sign up. It includes a planting pot, directions, bags of soil, a packet of seeds with the name of the plant, days until harvest, and sun requirements, and a number 2 pencil. Thank you, Mrs. Klotsko, for allowing me to share my vision with all of you. It is my hope to bring my presentation to all 5th and 4th grade students in Torrington. Torrington Middle School students are already growing vegetables. Also, I would appreciate permission to start a community garden at the middle school. Principal Lomboski would also like a community garden at Forbes Elementary. Heart Seed Company has already agreed to supply us with all the seeds we need. The gardens will be started and maintained by students from any Torrington school that volunteer. I already have quite a list of students waiting to participate. We will be starting seeds with students already involved in the windowsill program in early spring for planting in the community garden. Griffin Greenhouse in Cheshire, Connecticut has supplied us with our pots for our windowsills. Wetflower Farms has given us small pots to start our seeds for the community garden. Lowe's, Torrington, and Eglway have donated potting soil. Staples has given us folders, pencils, small packets, and printing services. We are in need of more potting soil, but I am working on that. Thank you again for listening, and thank you for helping Kids Growing Food for Kids make a dent in childhood hunger in our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Timothy has given you a folder with more information regarding the project.
Mr. Chairman? Yes. Question on that. I mean, it's obviously a terrific plan and a terrific initiative. And practical question is, these victory gardens in the school, or the gardens that you're going to start in the school, is that right? Am I hearing that right?
There'll be a community garden at Forbes and Torrington Middle School.
Yeah, and the plans for, I mean, the growing season in the summer, what plans will, how will that be maintained over the summer?
There's a lot of students that have volunteered to go up every summer with the supervision.
Really?
They're going to be up there doing it, yeah.
Fantastic.
He's got a list. And Jacob is in his brother, he's in Forbes, and they just line up at our house. These kids go over and make their help with the
What do you need from the Board of Education? I mean, just other specific?
Permission to have the community gardens
Okay.
and possibly being able to go to the elementary school besides Forest.
All right, fantastic, thanks. Is this going to be, I mean, how are we going to practically, what are we going to do to facilitate this, Mr. Chairman?
Oh, right now, I mean, this was just informational sharing. I'm going to have to run this by, we'll have to run it through personnel, so to speak.
Okay.
No, I'm not gonna send it to you. Why don't you send it to you? School
Personnel,
improvement it is.
It's a personnel decision.
No, we'll have to look at the maintenance and custodial issues of the garden on school property. That's something that'll have to be. Other groups have, at times, have tried to do beautification projects, which have become an issue, so.
Yeah, but this is on the radar, and these kids are going to get our support, right? I mean,
I don't see why not. We're just going to have to probably have some conversations at the personnel level to make sure we can work it out.
okay.
Can we get permission to go to the other elementary schools then, just for the windowsill program?
Get the plan started so that they can.
Well, no, the
collect
kids are growing, Torrington Middle School is already doing it. They actually have, they're actually growing vegetables in their windowsills at home and in school that will be harvested before the end of school, before the community gardens are even started.
Yes.
Well, thank you for coming in. It's a great idea.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.
And Timothy,
you.
we'll be in touch. Okay?
Nice job.
The good cause, because one of my other hats is, you know, students who have become homeless and what they're doing for food and everything, so this is an excellent, excellent program.
Thank you again.
No.
Good night. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, moving on to 5.4, technology plan, first read. We're going to absorb this, receive it, let everybody digest it, and then when we have it'll be back as a discussion item next month for us to comment and critique and take action.
And I'm turning this because Mrs. Monaco was the chair of the committee. She and the colleagues she worked with, you know, put the plan together, and credit is where credit's due. So, is there anything you'd like to present this tonight?
Oh, this is a committee effort. There's a PowerPoint presentation that hits the highlights. Mr. Chair, I'm not sure if you want to take time this evening to share the overview of the plan, or whether it's included in the packet, whether you just want to have the board members look at it on their own.
It's in the
Yes,
packet.
it's in the.
If you want to give us just a quick, give us a 30,000-foot view.
Okay.
And then we'll digest it and we'll take it in as
10 slides or less.
10 slides.
It'll be quick. It'll be
Okay.
quick. Jerry, you got the start?
Well, while this is warming up, the purpose of this is we'd like to present the plan to the board. This is the technology plan for, district technology plan for the Torrington Public Schools. It's a plan that's required by the state, and it, this plan is, part of the requirement of this plan is in order to access federal funds for technology, we need to be able to submit a plan that's approved by the state. Plan is presented to the board. When the board approves it, it goes then to the local RESC. The RESC will review it for its completeness, and then once it's officially approved, it'll go to the state. various components of the plan. Child Internet Protection Act, and our compliance with that profile of the district is included there, which includes technology literacy, acceptable use policy, online assessment capacity, membership of the committee that was created to evaluate and create this draft this plan, the vision statement for the plan, needs assessments, different areas of the district, including curriculum, PD, equitable use, infrastructure, telecommunications, and the administrative needs, and the technology goals and strategies for the district for the next 3 years. The committee members included myself, Daniel Tebow, member of the board, Sue DeMonico, Assistant Superintendent, David Settle, Director of Facilities, Dr. Patty Fazioli, who's a middle school assistant principal, Pat Richardson, who's a Torrington High School teacher and Teacher of the Year award winner, Eva Kaminsky, who's a Torrington Middle School teacher, Robin Litverasis, who's a Forbes teacher, Matt Bell, who's a Southwest music teacher, Karen Schick, who's a tag teacher, and Robin Magistrelli, who's a Torrington High School library media specialist.
Okay, we'll just continue to move you quickly through the process. The vision statement is a very simple statement included in the packet. It is sort of our long-term goal that all graduates of the Torrington Public Schools will be prepared to use technology resources in innovative ways to be effective, efficient, and ethically productive and successful 21st century citizens. So that should be our outcome as a result of being able to implement the strategies in the plan. The remainder of the presentation just hits on some of the highlights from each of the 5 goals, and Jerry and I will switch off on those. The more detail is provided in the complete plan that's in your packet, but the first goal addresses teaching and learning, and some of the highlights in that area include our plans for pilots of various technology devices, and our intent to research technology trends for use in school. The use of technology devices of various sorts, whether they are handhelds, tablets, netbooks, laptops, digital cameras, but the whole spectrum of technology devices for differentiating or individualizing instruction. We also plan to do curriculum work in the upcoming year as part of the curriculum review and revision cycle to improve our technology integration through assured experiences at the elementary school and potentially revision of middle school and high school technology course offerings so that they are more relevant and pertinent to student needs, and to look at policies to allow for the use of personal electronics for educational purposes only. And that's a very interesting area because it does include a lot of delicate issues regarding security, regarding safety, and the appropriate training and support in order to make that happen. So there's more detail about each one of these items in the plan. The second goal addresses assessment. Some of the highlights there is our intent to increase the district's assessment capacity so that we can have the ability to test more students online, to utilize a district data warehouse tool to manage and analyze data in a more efficient way, to use technology tools to assess students so that we have better information about what they know and are able to do and can tailor instruction to meet student needs, and to use social networking tools and mobile devices to help staff share and examine student work and to conduct surveys so that we can get information from our staff about what their technology needs are. The third goal addresses basically professional development areas. We want to be sure to institutionalize training opportunities for staff to provide professional development through innovative ways, which is something I believe the Commissioner and the Governor very much support, other than just workshops, to use teacher leaders, online learning communities, job-embedded experiences, to survey teachers about their training needs in order to differentiate instruction for staff so that they get the kind of training that is helpful for them and meets them where they are, and to identify specific teacher technology competencies and provide support for teachers who need it.
fourth goal addresses how the district will provide access to these technologies to the students and to the staff. First task is to continue the regular hardware refreshes that we've started last year, and keep those ongoing. We plan to upgrade the wiring. We want to take a closer look at the infrastructure in all the buildings, as well as in the wide area network, to make sure that that is capable of providing the data access that we require. Upgrading the phone system. The high school in particular has a very dated phone system. There are a lot of newer technologies out there right now that will provide not only greater reliability and added features, but improved safety for the students and the staff. Creating network redundancy. Again, we want to try to provide as robust a network as possible so that when we have events like the storm that happened a few months ago that knocked out the power at the high school, that we don't cripple the network and the access that students and teachers and staff need to get their work done and to communicate. The fiber connections are the components that connect all of our schools to each other and provide one cohesive network. We want to make sure those are robust. And adding more screens for students to be able to access technology. Goal 5 is productivity and efficiency. How do we plan to make the technology that we put out there more effective? One challenge or one way to do that is to standardize on the hardware and the software that's being deployed. The more standardized it is, the more we limit it, the similar systems, it's easier to manage, it's easier to repair, and to grow forward. Implement technology and approval and acquisition process. We want to streamline that process so it's easier to procure the hardware and the software that we need to, again, kind of feed the system. Improving the ticketing, better help desk communication. We want to make sure that we can resolve issues quicker to keep people working. And improve the processes for software updates, maintaining various databases. The key information component, or the key information that we have are stored in databases. We want to make sure that those databases are active, they're available, and they're accessible from multiple directions, and that they're constantly updated so they can not be susceptible to failure.
Okay, just to wrap things up, just a few clarifications. The strategies that we shared with you were suggested by the committee members. You might recall that the board at an earlier meeting, either the August or September meeting, approved the membership of this group so that it is a representative group, including administrators, teachers, and different kinds of users of technology across the district. The strategies, we believe, are realistic steps that are based on our current knowledge of best practice. We know how quickly things change in technology, but our best guess as to what we're going to need in order to use technology effectively as a tool. And this plan is not an ironclad commitment of resources. In the past, the technology plan used to also include a budget which gave a specific price tag for each year of the plan. And many boards of education were concerned that that was a commitment, that those resources were being committed several years out, and the state has removed that requirement from its current template. So this is an idea of the kinds of things that we think would be necessary and appropriate that should be done or that we would like to do, but there is some variability in the implementation of the plan based on changes in technology, changes in our needs, and changes in our resources. There is continuing work that came to our attention as a result of developing the plan. We would like to revise our definition of technology literacy. NCLB, and No Child Left Behind Act, requires that all students be technologically literate by the end of 8th grade. And one thing that we discovered in the process of working on this plan is that we don't really have a very satisfactory definition of what it means to be technologically literate. And we talked about a number of different options, whether that should include a portfolio of student work that demonstrated students' competencies in a variety of areas, whether that should be a test or assessment of some sort, or whether that should be the completion of a series of courses, so that we are certain that if a student graduates from the Torrington Public Schools, that they're going to have an acceptable level of technology exposure and mastery for the most part. We are going to need to continue to update the acceptable use policy for both students and staff. The state actually recommends that it be reviewed annually and updated biannually. Ours is about, Bill, maybe 3 years old. And there's a link to that that's embedded in the plan. We're also working on developing a plan and a cost estimate for expanding equity and access with a particular eye to what kind of equipment we need to be able to implement online learning by 2015 for the new state assessments. We will be revisiting policies to assure maximum flexibility in using various kinds of technology devices, whether they're desktops, laptops, tablets, handhelds, or other mobile devices. And we are going to need to continue to assess to be sure that the district has adequate support, both in terms of technical support and training, to make sure that our staff and our students get the support that they need to use the technology effectively, so that any investment that we make will be an investment in technology as a tool and not just to have it sitting on the shelf. So that's the quick view of the plan. There's a lot of detail that's included in there. So we would encourage you to jot down your questions. If you'd like to forward them to me or to Jerry, we can share these back with the committee at some points so that we can try to resolve as many of the questions and provide you with additional documentation if you need it before the March meeting.
Thank you.
Question? Do we have questions?
Can I finish my sentence?
Oh, yes.
For the March meeting, will you be able to have Jerry give us the count of what we have at each facility, what's functional, what's non-functional? Not just the total number of units, but the total number of units that are there, and they work and they have the ability to be on at the same time.
Yes.
You know, we can stick 100 in a room, but if we can only turn on 4, the list should be 4 functional and 96 non-functional. I think that would be helpful.
Yeah.
We can go quick, but we're going to try to.
What do we expect? I just want to know, in the March meeting, what are we expected to approve? Is the board being asked to approve? Exactly.
This plan to go forward to Ed Connection, where it has to be reread and make sure we've covered all the pieces before it goes to the state. It has to be at the state in June. This plan that's before you,
Well, why is it from Ed Connection?
that's the process that the state has told us we have
It's
to
got to
follow.
run through Ed Connection first.
They only review it for completeness, and they're not going to make any judgments about it.
Yeah, they're not going to turn it back to us, but they might say, oh, you missed this section, or you didn't answer this question.
Well, when are we supposed to ask little things like continue a regular hardware software replacement cycle? When are we supposed to know what that's going to cost the district?
I would hope that by March we'll have
Really?
an idea of.
But in order to have that, you've got to know exactly what, I mean, this is all based on some things, I mean, I understand the rush from the state to do this is just absolutely, to me, completely unrealistic, impractical, and guaranteed to generate a boondoggle. I mean, when we talk about strategies and realistic steps based on current knowledge of best practice, this is something new. What's the best practice? I'm confused. We're trying to institute an online learning, a minimum tiny footprint in online learning. It took us 6 months to evaluate and design that as a beta program, you know, to test within the school. And yet we're being asked within a month to approve an entire paradigm shift that is going to affect the funding within this town for the next generation. Is that right? Because, I mean, I think this board seriously needs to think about what our options are here as far as if to be in compliance with the state and with these deadlines, you know? I mean, I don't see anything here that nothing addresses the cost of this, and nothing addresses the cost related to the benefit. The cost benefit is absolutely missing from any of this.
I spoke to one of our state representatives and asked, because this was just going to be a first read, just to give us, because everybody's going to generate 100 questions out of this.
Yeah.
And for us to come up with a list of questions so that that we can get them back to administration so they can have some type of answers for us. Because if not, we're going to walk in March, we're all going to throw a bunch of questions at them. They're not going to be able to get back to us till April or May. If we can generate off of the literature we're given. I asked this particular state rep of ours to come to the meeting when we're going to discuss this.
Yep.
And I specifically said, you guys have mandated this. How are you going to fund it? Because Torrington's going to, inevitably need somewhere between $10 and $15 million to fund all of this. Where are we supposed to come up with?
And the answer was what, Mr. Chairman?
The answer was, I would gladly come and listen to your questions. But
Will they gladly come and answer our questions? Will they be in a capacity to answer the questions?
The state.
Well, we don't have time for listening tours.
Well, there was not an understanding that this was going to have a great or grave impact on our budget.
This year. This year. Yeah, but once we set this thing in motion, okay? Once we set this thing in motion, they're building the train, they're putting it on the track, and at some point, they're going to turn around and say, okay, now you guys figure out how to pay for it.
Right.
And we have an obligation as elected officials for this town to ask some serious questions about the process. Not even the plan, the process here. So my question to you, Mr. Chairman, through you to whoever would be in charge, Ms. Clark or Mr. Monaco, what can the state do if we don't make your deadline? Well,
They can withhold E-rate funding, the federal funding that we generally use to support our telecommunications and fiber installation and other technology projects.
How much is it? Roughly.
Well,
E-rate?
E-rate right now is about, I think the last year was 69 or 70% reimbursement on eligible expenses, which included like communications.
Give me a dollar amount. How much did we spend last year roughly? That was E-rate.
We receive about 70,000 from E-rate reimbursement.
So
we're being held hostage over 70,000.
I guess to follow Paul's.
Future funding to put this in place.
can I make a formal motion, sir?
You can always make a motion.
But I move that this Board of Education direct the administration to contact superintendents throughout the state of Connecticut and ask to see if there is a consensus to ask for continuation of this deadline from the state of Connecticut, based on the fact that this is completely unrealistic, that the boards of education simply do not have the time to digest, process, and evaluate this information in a timely or realistic or practical manner.
We don't have the funding, period.
That's the motion. There's a motion out there. Second, please, Mr. Chairman, see if someone seconds
There's
that.
a second to that motion?
Then we can discuss. Does no one else believe this?
Yeah, I'll second it.
You're just seconding, you're not approving it.
Yeah.
So second, now discussion.
Discussion. The discussion will be on whether we should direct the administration.
Correct. Yes, sir.
To contact other districts and find out if there's a consensus to push off the deadline of June.
Let me just clarify. The deadline has already been delayed once. Originally, the draft was due to your RESC, whether it's CREC or Connection or ACES or EastCon, by mid-March. It's been postponed to later in March. And I should point out that they're reviewing it for completeness, not for whether it's a good idea, a bad idea. And when it goes to the state, it's filed. This is not a binding plan. This is an attempt to get districts to do some long-range planning, to think about what they should be doing in terms of maintaining and improving technology as a tool for education. So that's part of the reason why the budget aspect was removed, because there was a concern on the part of many boards of ed that made the plan too ironclad, too binding, and everyone knows that in the current economic conditions that it's not possible to scope out 3, 4, 5 years into the future what resources are going to be available. So this is an idea based on the input of the members of the committee about some of the things that need to be done. And I think some of the items that are included in the plan are pretty common sense types of things. Replace machines that are 10 or 15 years old. To give our students opportunities to interact with technology devices for learning that are going to enhance their educational experience and prepare them to be 21st century citizens. So, I mean,
somewhere in here, when I read this, it says there's no budgetary impact.
That's
This plan
impossible.
does not represent a budgetary
Right.
impact.
It's saying what we think we need to move our students forward to be technologically literate.
Is the purpose of this more of an exercise to the state to be able to understand the infrastructure of schools across the state? And at that point, they'll assess what the schools are telling them, and then they'll be able to build into some, or back into a funding mechanism to allow us to do these upgrades. Because there's no way that we can take this on. I mean, it's absurd to think that the state mandate us to do this in these times, when the state doesn't even have any money.
Or is this just an exercise in killing trees so that we have, so it's just an exercise to force districts to think?
I think it's more of a planning exercise, and it actually formalizes some processes that we have already in place. Last year, we implemented the first year of a replacement cycle, and it was scoped out to be approximately $200,000 over a 3 or 5 year period, along with the capital plan that also had a set amount of expenditures over a 5-year period. So there is a cost to this, but there is going to be an associated cost with improving the level of technology access in the district.
I think it also allowed us and led us to that when we were planning technology, that this year principals met with both Sue and Jerry together so we could look at instruction and the tools that are going to be needed to carry out that instruction. The other piece it's connected to is to the waiver that the commissioner has applied for, so that we will no longer have to be, making adequate yearly progress and no child left behind component. It's also connected to the, I think, the Connecticut State Department of Education's commitment to the Common Core standards and the Common Core assessments that will go along, so that we're looking at assessing student progress and academic achievement more in growth rather than hitting, one spot, again, tied to the waiver. So, and in order for that to happen, the type of assessment that will have to be administered will have to be through technology. And so that's why we have to make sure, one, that we have the tools to make this happen, and two, that our children have the experience with the tools prior to sitting down and taking the test.
I appreciate all that. The progressive and practical side of me that looks at this state initiative says they recognize finally that public education is broken. It's broken largely because of the way the state itself has constructed this approach to educating children. And now they're coming forward with a plan, and this needs to be, and this is progressive and positive stuff in the right context. The really cynical part of me says, well, politicians running for office, as somebody who ran for office twice at state level, love to be able to point to something and say, look at the great strides we're making in education, we've got this plan together, and that's the rush to get this thing out so that a lot of people can run in November on this great breakthrough in public education. At the end of the day, we're left with page after page after page of anybody who's dealt with this kind of technology, of looking at each one of these items and saying, I'm seeing landmines all over. I'm seeing landmines here. I'm seeing landmines here. What do we know about this? How much do we know? We got 4,500 students that we're dealing with. What is the real plan here for telecommunications? Needs assessment telecommunications. What telecommunications? How? Where? Why? Are we talking about telecommunications? I mean, are we talking about video streaming? Are we talking about video streaming content? Are we talking about FMS, iOS, Xbox? Is it all going to be compatible? What is the bandwidth for that with all of our schools? Is it going to be some of our schools? That's just one. That's just a fingerprint. That's just one thumbnail of this thing. And yet when we put this thing together, at some point, the state's gonna say, okay, now go put your money there. And it will be a boondoggle. I don't know how we can possibly be expected to do this in a month and rationally assess this. I just don't know.
But that can even get our plans to work at the board level.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's just the simplest of issues.
That's why what we wanted tonight was to bring this to everybody as a first read so you can start to chew on it. And again, there's gonna be, everybody's gonna come up with 100 questions. And instead of occupying, a 10-hour meeting of everybody throwing ideas on the table, let's get our ideas down, let's get them to the administration. I'm sure a lot of us are gonna have some of the same questions. And then we'll see which way we want to go.
I'm just saying, we cannot possibly reasonably expect, working in the industry that I do, these 3 or 4 people to possibly, vet out the information that needs to be vetted here, to put it on a grid and say this is a realistic plan for the Torrington Public School system within the next couple of months. I mean, it's just mind-bogglingly complex what is being asked of us here. And I just want to go on the record. And I'm saying, I think, again, I'll shut up after this, but I think that the board's position at this point, my personal feeling, is we ask our superintendent to request a stay on this decision, on even this level, even this level. Like Vietnam, once you get your toe in, at some point the tanks and the planes and the helicopters are going to be sent over there. Once we commit something, it will translate into dollars very, very, very quickly.
We're also asking them to come up with a 5-year plan on a technology that changes by the minute.
Yes, sir.
You can't throw a dart at this because it moves so fast.
At all levels.
To try to have some type of, realistic plan.
There's the delivery system, and then there's the content piece, neither one of which.
Is it possible for us to get clarification that this is really just, that the state just wants to get this data? Or is this something that they are gonna wanna implement down the road? Is it possible to get that exact clarification?
Are you? They make some board somewhere in the state will say that this has to happen. There'll be no funding that I'm sure will ever get attached to it. It'll be on page 4,000 of a 9,000-page bill that's going to fly across, the governor and the legislators' desks. Could it be slipped in there? Absolutely. I don't think you'll ever get anybody to commit whether they're going to just use this as informational or whether they're going to use this as...
This is not binding in any way, shape, or form. And there have been changes in the staffing at the Connecticut Department of Information Technology, which, like the Connecticut State Department of Education, has had its numbers reduced greatly. It's very, very much of a skeleton crew there. The state files these in order to be able to say, we have the required plans on file in order to be eligible for federal grant monies.
So it's essentially, it's a tree-killing operation.
It's an exercise in planning, in making your best estimation as to what you feel that your future needs are going to be.
So that does answer, that does.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's the,
Well, let's get a vote on Paul's motion to ask the administration to file or seek
a continuance, delay tactics.
All those in favor of that motion? We have Mr. Cavanero, Mr. T-Ball, Mr. Traub, we have Mr. Oliver, Ms. Horner, Rivero, and Marola. Against? Capabianco, Kisco, and Nargi. Go ahead.
My feeling is the time to question this or ask for a postponement would have been when we formed the committees and we had the discussions about what was going to be required of us. I think for us to ask for a postponement at this late date when we're up against the deadline doesn't bode well for the district. The fight should have been when we formed the committee, not when we're ready to present the plan. I feel the committee has put a tremendous amount of work into this. We've been fully kept up to date of everything that's been going on with this committee. So I think we're late in the game to be requesting that we postpone and throw out all the work of this committee.
Well, even if a continuance is granted, the work of the committee still stands. It'll never be thrown out because inevitably this is going to have to happen. Whether it happens in June, it happens in July, it happens in December, it's still going to happen. So the work and effort put in wouldn't go to waste. I mean, it would still be used. The continuance gives the members around this table time to digest what was just shared with us and try to wrap their minds around it.
And
The
I do
policy
believe other
issues
school
that-
districts, sorry, the motion was to inquire other school districts who might be feeling, other boards of education, school districts might be feeling the same pressure that, you know, simply put, they would prefer to be able to take over the summer and really, you know, put some more time into this.
It's just to ask.
There may be, and if not, no, I'm not saying we go unilaterally as one school district and don't do it. It would be great to know if maybe there is a commonality of interest, you know, particularly in Western Connecticut with similar school districts to ours, and they all jointly file a request to the state.
I can share, Mr. Chair, that Ed Connection actually held a voluntary workshop a week ago Friday for any districts who wish to come and work on their plans together, who felt like they needed some additional ideas or support. I mean, they're trying, the Education Connection and the other rests are trying to do whatever they can to help to be supportive, but I don't believe that there's a feeling that this is a definitive document by any of the districts. And if you look at the cover page, the template wasn't released until November. They're due at the end of March and they're submitted to the state by June. And I think districts are attempting to do the best job that they can to outline a general strategic plan, just as our district did last year, to lay out some general parameters for the direction in which they think they need to go. So we can bring the connection.
Yes, Jim.
I could also say that I participated in a technology council meeting at one of the RESCs, and the guidance from the person running that particular session was that you could put as much or as little work into this plan as you wanted to. You could literally.
Then why do it?
Yeah.
Because if their suggestion was that this is an opportunity for the district to really take a good look at where they are right now, where they want to go.
But we do that anyway.
Like Sue said, it's not binding. So,
You know, if the state really wanted to do this, shouldn't the state be encouraging Torrington and Naugatuck and Ansonia and Britain to talk collaboratively also about this? The whole point of technology is interconnectivity and shared resources, flattening the world, flattening the state educationally. Have those discussions happened? Of course not, because the state is running this thing. A bunch of people running for office.
I like the idea of flattening the state government. One of our Torrington representatives is on the education committee, as I'm sure you know. Maybe
Two are.
just working.
Three are.
I'm looking at the list and I see one. Unless it's an old list.
Okay. Thank you for your presentation.
you're welcome.
Good luck going forward with it. We support what you're doing. We appreciate what you're doing. We're just questioning why. What we're doing? Okay, 5.5, update on credit recovery program. Is that Sue again?
I can provide that for you.
Thank you, Sue.
This information was shared by our program manager and high school principal. Just to let you know that as of today, there are 36 students with completed contracts to occupy the 15 available seats. 50 slots are scheduled during the school day and 17 for after-school hours. About a third of the students who are enrolled in more than one course to make up credits. The most common courses are English and U.S. history. So these are students in credit recovery for those graduation requirements. But there are also students taking science, maths, and other elective courses. There's one student within the last 2 weeks who's logged over 16 hours of time online. So this medium obviously appeals to this particular student. And the lowest amount of time that a student has been online for a session is 25 minutes, but that may have just been an orientation session. So it's a little bit too early at this point to give a progress report because we've been underway just about 2 weeks, 2 school weeks. And part of that time included the scheduling orientation so the students can learn how to access and use the program. But we have a program manager employed, we have tutors working with the students, we have students who are actively engaged in the program, and we expect to be able to use the tools within the online learning platform to be able to give you information about not only how much time are students spending on it, but how successful they are in being able to recover specific credits, specific classes. So we can continue to provide updates for you as we go through the spring.
That would be great. Okay.
Question?
Sure.
You have a program manager of this program? Or this?
That's correct.
Okay, so when
It's a certified guidance counselor.
Okay, so what are the hours in which these students are going to participate in this? Monday comes around, they're able to go in at 8 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock, what? Just kind of let me visualize just what's going on.
The students who have identified have already failed a class once and are enrolled in the class for the second time. And so during that time period when they would be attending a class that they've already potentially failed for the second time, they go to the computer lab during that period so that they're not just sitting in class twiddling their thumbs or being disruptive to the other students. They can also go after school, or they can go any other time on their own where they have access to an internet browser to log into their account and to work on the practice exercises. If they're going to be tested, any kind of assessment, that has to be done at the school under adult supervision, either during a class period or during the after-school time when the learning center is manned by an adult.
So this student will interact with this computer. There will be a guidance counselor, not a teacher per se. I don't know what the difference quite is between a teacher and guidance counselor. But this is going to be a course that will be able to get credit for, not necessarily being provided by a teacher in that course.
I think the selection of the tutors was done to assure that there was a tutor who was certified in each one of the major core areas. So there is someone who has expertise in English language arts, math, science, and social studies. And those people are scheduled to supervise students during different times of the day. But the course itself is self-contained. A student does not necessarily need to have an adult present in order to work their way through the learning exercises that are embedded in the program. They would need to have an adult present to show that they are the one who's demonstrating mastery of the knowledge in order to be able to move on to the next section in the course.
So this student will be able to get credit for a course that will not be taught by a member of the TDA.
They are getting credit for demonstrating their mastery, that they've learned all of the content that's associated with a particular program of study.
I don't have any more questions.
Anyone else? Okay, moving on to discussion and action items. Redistribute professional development days 2012.
And if it's a change in the calendar, I just had it. Around. Yep, there it is. Okay. Sorry about that. The school, on February 1st, the school improvement recommended, and approved and recommended changes to our professional development days for the next school year. and it was recommended that they come to the full board.
Any of the pages that say draft, it's just after
It's right after discussion action.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, it redistributes our current professional development day, 5 days and 2 half-days. And it will not diminish instructional time, but we'll plan it across the school year. We feel this is important because when you're initiating a new program, a new practice, instructional strategies, it shouldn't just be a one-hit, here it is, and good luck, and let us know how it works out. You should be able to provide time for allowing teachers to come back together to discuss how the program, how instructional strategies, whatever the focus of the professional development is, how it's working, what needs to be adjusted. You need time to reflect upon your practices. So just have it once and be done with it really does not mean that you're making a change in the teacher's professional behavior. So the way we would like to change it is, in the past few years, it's been preloaded before the first day of school. To have 2 opening days in August. As you can see, a half-day for convocation, a half-day for faculty day and data reviewing meeting, a half-day for 6th and 9th grade orientations, and elementary meet and greets of incoming kindergarten, the orientation and the bus ride, and a half-day for building-based professional development and choice or for technology sessions. Then we would have a full day in September, early October, for district, grade level, or department work. So that allows us to have continuity of practice, use of common language in a particular content area across the district, that all schools are having the same training. And so you're seeing how it's working district-wide, not just in one school. And we follow up on summer curriculum projects, and then that would be in a full day in September, early October. We would have a half-day early release in October, perhaps around close to Halloween, for a building-based professional development activity, which is aligned with the school's improvement plan. We would have a full day in November, election day, to revisit district work across schools and departments. And then a half-day early release in January, and we would connect it with one day that where students are already not in school. So again, we're not, having disruption to instruction for building-based professional development. Again, aligned with the school improvement plan. And then a full day in April or May for district grade level or department work. So what you're looking at just gives an opportunity for schools to come together, for grade levels to come together, or departments, but again, really to provide continuity within the building and also across the district. And most of these will be led either by principal, by teachers within the building, teachers, department heads, or instructional specialists on grade level. If money allows, yes, someone from the outside would come in, but it would pertain specifically to what we want to look at with our teachers. This year we've had someone in the area of reading, and usually they come for either minimal cost or they are free grant funded, or because we are entitled to some county training, which is through the state.
We get a motion, you came from your committee. Would you like to put a motion forward on this so we can discuss it? Sure. Motion forward. Second. Second is Dave. Discussion, David?
Yeah. I believe over the summer, we discussed coordinating our school calendar to coincide with Alpha Wilcott Tech so that we could realize, save between $30,000 and $40,000 in just transportation costs. Where are we in that discussion? Because if we're talking about changing the calendar to accommodate this revised or enhanced professional development schedule, is that not premature to another vote where we may be changing or augmenting the calendar to align it with the 10th?
That hasn't come from the state yet. All we were able to find out was that the April vacation that we have this current school year is the one that Oliver Wolfett Tech has this year also. That's just by coincidence. But that tells me that that's what the state does every year, around that second, third week of April. But we don't have that physical calendar from the state yet. Oliver Wolfett Tech, the way they run their curriculum and PD, they have roughly 4 to 7 early dismissal days a month. So even to do something like this, I mean, we could line it up, absolutely.
Well, I'm just saying, if we're
but
lining it
they
up
have a
just
ton of
for
early
vacations, why not align PD as well? So I'm just curious
That
to know.
also needs to be, we don't have that calendar
We won't
yet.
have the state calendar probably until after April.
I don't know if it's worth postponing this until we have that information, because otherwise we'd be potentially looking at changing the calendar yet a third time this year.
I think your point, Danielle, is they have more days than we do, so we would just find out when theirs are, and ours would be the same days as theirs.
Right, but as they sit now, we don't know that information. That's all.
And this request wasn't seeking specific days, but just to demonstrate that there's a pattern of both district-based and school-based days that is similar to the amount of release time that we have right now for professional development, just configured differently. But I see your point.
I mean, yeah, approving it is just the month of September, the month of October, and once we get that calendar, we can do, we can combine the transportation and the PD into one.
This wouldn't be extended.
Well, it extends it in the beginning of the year. I mean, it doesn't. It's still the same number of days in the contract that we've had. We're not changing teachers' contract on the extending the school year.
We're just making a full day, a half day.
How do we define a half-day?
We don't anymore with the state. It's your, yeah, it's number of hours that you have to have in place. That's why we can have a 2-hour delay, because we'll get enough time. So it's really not called a half and a whole day.
But as you're looking at this, how do you envision it? What do you call a half-day? You
would
define a half-day.
For elementary, 1 o'clock, for, what's it, times high school get out, 11:30, 12?
12:06.
12:06.
Approximately. Elementary is 1 to 1:40. Different schools, 1:40.
So,
2 hour.
yeah, it's giving the buildings about a 2-hour span for professional.
2 hours of early, work of early dismissal.
Yes, sir.
Why can't some of the professional days be done during exam periods when the kids are out at 12 o'clock or whatever? Give them this was a 2-hour, 3-hour PD. An exam period.
Well, they have that in here.
Where?
It's under a half-day early release in January, extended holiday break for students, exam week, or bump up against Martin Luther King.
That would be the high school only.
Yes.
Right.
But
And that's just for the January exam period?
Well, they're not asking for a professional development in June. Those are your 2 exam periods, January and June.
Yeah, just, how much of this professional development takes place in January for the exam period? I mean, you have how many days of exam? 4. So like, you have 4 days of.
They're asking for 1 half
No,
day.
just one.
One half
One half
day.
day.
have, how many full days of professional development are you talking, or half days of professional development in total?
5 full days and 2 half days, which is what we had this year.
Okay, so say, and of that period, how many of those days will be in exam periods?
1 half day,
So you just get 1 half out of the total.
and 1 day is election day.
And you can't do another in the June period as well?
Usually by that time, you're looking forward to what will impact the following school year. This is really purposed to have opportunity to reflect on what is going on and to be able to change and alter and try. It's,
End of the year is not a high yield time for
Right.
learning.
yeah.
It just seems like they're there, why not get more productivity up for the rest of the day? I mean, you're there, I mean, I know they feel they do stuff, correct exams and stuff, but it just seems like you get more productivity in that full day, because they're being paid for a full day.
Our exam staggered, 7 morning, 7 afternoon.
Yes, John?
Just, nothing happens the last week of school that you plan on happening. And I always tell new teachers, don't worry about it. Anything that happened the last couple of weeks of the year, it doesn't count. So you're busy wrapping things up and getting things done. People are short. It's just, kids aren't good for anything. It's, nothing happens.
But we're talking about the teachers development.
You know, they're busy getting all this wrapped up, getting their rooms put away and so on. It just, I mean, ideally, yeah, you could use that time because there is time. But it's not time that you could use for anything else except getting rid of this year and moving forward.
Thank you.
Putting records together too.
End of the year reports, getting your evaluations taken care of.
The reason why I think it's good at the end of the year, though, is because at the end of the year, people is engaged in the whole process of what happened in the past academic year. And I would think at that point, everything's fresh. People's thoughts and ideas of what transpired in the year are freshest in their mind, and they may have the most energy to express and have dialogue as far as professional development right at the end, as opposed to you come back at the end of the summer.
Well, you're right about it being a reflective time of the year, no question about that.
I mean, it's
when
not-
those kids leave in June, or you're contemplating them leaving, you think, okay, you know, what was this year like? What could be better next year? What do I never want to do again? What do I want to make sure I do again? And you get that nailed down.
And that could be, and that's why we kind of like to see it happen, is then it can be transferred, those feelings to the administration who work all summer to try and get the upcoming year curriculum.
Lots of luck
all the
finding
things
an
they do.
administrator the last
Pardon?
couple- Lots of luck finding an administrator the last couple of weeks, because they're flat out. They are absolutely flat out.
Do we pay them on a prorated basis at the end of the year? A little less?
Twice as much as we do.
Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion? Those in favor? Opposed? Either? In favor, okay. Unanimous. I didn't see it when I was over quick. No, we accepted the plan.
But the
But
dates
we're not
will
going to,
coordinate.
we're not going to sign the dates until we
Good.
see what,
I
how the
just
look
wondered.
at that schedule is.
Well, it just seems silly to do
I assume this one's yours, Bill? Yeah. Bullying program to the state?
Better known as the Safe School Climate Plan. Safe School Climate.
Well, our-
But it is a bully.
Safe school climate.
Yeah, that's
I'm
what it
just
is.
reading what it says on the agenda.
You got it.
And you professed to being a bully earlier. So
I did.
the guy in charge of bullying.
The plan that you have in your packet is a plan that reflects legislation that went into effect last summer. Each district was required to submit a plan to the state to address the requirements of Public Act 11-232. We did submit the plan in January. The state allowed us to submit a plan in draft form and seek approval from the board after the fact. It can be changed, it's not binding. This may sound familiar from an earlier discussion. What we did was, we didn't get too flowery with our language here. We took the law, broke it up into the sections required by the law, and stated that each school would have a safe school, our district would appoint a safe schools climate coordinator. You're looking at that person, and it doesn't have to be in effect until July 1st, 2012, and underneath that reviews the duties. We have to have a safe school climate specialist, better known as your principal or designee. We have to have a committee. Many schools are already establishing committees or using committees that are in existence and having their responsibilities increased. We have to be prepared to review the in-service training to make sure those are already in place. The 13th will be working with paraprofessionals. We've already been out to each of the schools to talk about this law and what it entails. And after July 1st, we have to review our plan every year to make sure that it's working and in place. And all the components that are required of the plan are included. We are open to adding to it, taking away from it, but I think it's a document that we're going to be living with, and it will evolve over time based upon what we're hearing from our committees. It's a very important piece of legislation that we recognize the impact of bullying in our schools, and our schools have to take the lead and the responsibility in investigating and addressing acts of bullying that might even take place out of school and get carried into school. We don't have that designation anymore. And we're all responsible. Bus drivers, cafeteria workers, custodians, paraprofessionals, teachers, administrators. So the law now recognizes that all educators have responsibility to work with students and address this problem. So this is a review for the board. Put it in your packet. It's the type of thing that I think my recommendation would be, as you're reading through it and reviewing it, any questions come to mind, any suggestions come to mind, that you email me, and we certainly will take them to the committee and adjust this plan as we go forward. At some point, we will need the board to make a recommendation or accept the plan, so it's no longer a draft, and it is our district plan, at least to start with.